What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is me, Jelly the Casual Card Gamer, and today we are going to be looking into the first deck profile of overdress that I'll be posting. One of the reasons why I've been kind of quiet with all decks that I've been building, all 10 ride lines so far. But the reason why I've been so quiet is some of the parts I'm still waiting on, and B, with only the start decks and one booster set out, there isn't really much variance, so I didn't really see the need to put up, the nth Nirvana build that would be almost the exact same thing, or say, with any of the other decks that are already pretty relevant. But this one I wanted to share personally because of my history with this playstyle of deck. But anyway, today we're going to be looking at the Master of Gravity Baro Magnus deck that I've put together. Now, of course, this is all still in its incubation stage. I have been playtesting it a little bit, and I have been liking the results so far. And yeah, I just wanted to share this with you guys before DBT2 comes out next month. Today, as of recording, the entire set list has been leaked, so I'm really excited for everything else that's going to be coming out for this deck. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. So first things first, we have our ride line. Sorry, I don't have a holo Electro Spartan, but yeah, it is Master of Gravity Baro Magnus, Electro Spartan, Deep Sonicer, and Uncanny Burning. We're just gonna put Uncanny Burning in the corner here because it literally does everything, the exact same thing that every other starter does for an overdress. So we're gonna focus on these three. So first, of course, is our big boy Baro Magnus here. So his ability is, when this unit attacks, counterblast 1, perform all the abilities according to the number of cards in your soul. So this card is sort of like a 3 threshold ability. So if you have 5 soul, then you draw a card. If you have 10 or more soul, then you draw a card. You get plus 10 and 1 crit. And if you have 15 or more, then both you and your opponent put all your rear guards into your soul, and you get to call 2 from your soul, and both of those units get plus 10. Now, one of the reasons why I like this deck so much is because it reminds me so much of course, this is the spiritual successor to Dark Irregulars, and this is not very commonly known knowledge, not very common knowledge to anybody that doesn't know me outside of YouTube. But one of my favorite decks back during the Limit Break era, during the Reverse era, and the G era was Dark Irregulars, and I loved playing them on so much. I loved my my Undead Christmas Tree, and yeah, I was really sad that we didn't get any Amon retrains in the V era, but Baro Magnus is, the best I can get, so I'm just gonna keep going with this because I love Dark Irregulars. I love putting my deck into my soul and then decking out 3 turns later. But anyway, that is Master of Gravity Baro Magnus. Next we have Electro Spartan. So when he is rode upon by Baro Magnus, then you get to put 1 card into your soul, draw a card, and then soul charge 1. So basically soul charge 2, except one of those soul charges coming from your hand. Now, I would have liked it a lot better if the draw came before the soul charge, because most of the time when I get to finally ride Baro Magnus over Electro Spartan, I don't have the most optimal hand. Maybe it's just my thinking, or maybe it's just bad luck of the draw all the time. I have no idea. But you do get the soul charge 2, and that does enable you, and it does a guarantee that you do get to 5 soul by the time that you hit Baro Magnus. So moving on to, and of course his rear guard ability, before I forget, is when he is placed, counterblast 1, soul charge 2, which is really nice because you want to get them soul charges early. And of course we have Deep Sonicer when he's placed on the Vanguard, soul charge 1, and he's a great beater or booster depending on where you want to put him, because during your turn, if your soul has 10 or more cards, he gets plus 10k. It's really really good, especially early game if you're swinging, if you don't have the most optimal field and you only have this and you want to just slap with it, and then at least it's at least a 5k guard, one card out of your hand, out of your opponent's hand minimum, before being put into the soul, and then you can always bring it back out to be a 28k attacker or a 28k booster, depending on, of course, game state. Anyway, Deep Sonicer. So let's move into the rest of the deck, shall we? So, of course, for our grade 3s, now the grade 3s I had a very hard time with, of course, outside of Baro Magnus, but we have the 3 copies of Baro Magnus, which we already know the abilities of. And then I run a playset of Phantasma Magician Curtis. So his ability is when he's placed on the rear guard, if your Vanguard is Baro Boy here, you get to Soul Charge 2. So basically he is a better Electro Spartan because you don't have to counterblast, and he is a 5k guard even if he attacks by himself, which is really nice. And then his second ability is if your soul has 10 or more cards, counterblast 2, and all of your front row units gain plus 5k until end of turn. Now, depending on what your numbers are before activating this ability, this could either help you a lot or literally do nothing. So I tend to stay away from it just because its cost is so heavy and you're constantly counterblasting with Baro Magnus, and in my case with Simone. But anyway, that is it for the units of grade 3s, and I run 2 Crawl You Insects. So this order's ability is counterblast 1, Soul Charge 1, choose one of your units, it gets plus 10k for every 5 cards in your soul, and if your soul has 10 or more cards, you get to draw. Now, I love this card. My only problem with it was when I was playtesting, it would never help me get over the 15 soul threshold, and of course counterblast is a big deal. So if you aren't at Baro Magnus's 15 soul requirement, then it becomes a little harder to play the deck. But it is really good for your non-Persona Ride turns because you do get that extra boost for every 5 cards. So basically you're giving a unit 30k if you're at 15 souls, and you get to draw a card, which is really nice. But anyway, originally I had Crawl You Insects at 4 and Curtis at 2, and then I went 3 and 3, and then I finally landed on 4 Curtis and 2 Insects. Just because Curtis is free, all you have to do is call him, and you can put him to your soul, and you never see him again, which is okay. And then of course, Crawl You Insects can't do anything outside of that. So there we go. I like the more sustained play, or the sustained field. Next, moving on to the grade 2s, we have a playset of Selfish Engravers and of course the other 3 copies of Electro Spartan. Now, Selfish Engraver has a really good relationship with Baro Magnus because if you play your cards right, you basically get to activate Baro Magnus's effect for free. Because with Selfish Engraver, when her attack hits, you Soul Charge 1. Doesn't have to hit a Vanguard, you can slap a rear guard, and if it hits, then you Soul Charge 1. If it doesn't hit, then your opponent just guarded a rear guard, which is always, it's always good. And at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, it doesn't have to hit. If your soul has 10 or more cards, you can put it into your soul and countercharge 1. So her interaction with Baro Magnus is pretty good. If you have 10 souls, attack with Selfish Engraver, put her into the soul, counterblast 1 for Baro Magnus' skill. You can call Selfish Engraver out again, and this time she'll be minimum 20k. If you wanted to have a booster behind her, then she gets even bigger. If you're on a Persona Ride turn, then even better, she becomes 30k on her own. You can always call maybe, another Selfish Engraver or something out to the field, attack with them both. They both go back into the soul, and you get all of your counterblasts back. And they swing for a pretty decent number. It's at least a 2-card guard if your opponent doesn't have any defensive triggers on them, which is always really, really good. And of course, it does help you get around Imprison. I know with DBT2 stuff coming out that it'll be harder to maneuver around prison with your drop zone cards now being able to go to prison. Just let them rest in peace. But that's besides the point. And then, of course, we have the 3 copies of Electro Spartan. And I already talked about what he does. So that's it for our grade 2s. Now for our grade 1s. So I run the other 3 copies of Deep Sonicer just because of the boost value, or the singular attack value, which is, of course, really good. And once you hit 10 soul, you're sailing. Next, we have a playset of Recusal Hate Dragon, because why not? Because you have to. Because Recusal Hate Dragon is so good. As are all the new Dragon BGs. But anyway, next we have 2 Steam Battler Gungrams. Now, in a perfect world, which this is not, I would have this at least at 3. Just because he is easier to just place Soul Charge 1. I'll probably have him at a playset. But since I only have 2 extra copies and I don't want to dismantle my Bruce deck, then yeah, there are 2. Next, I play 2 copies of Direful Dulcimone. Now, she is really good behind a Selvish Engraver because you get to activate her effect for free. And her ability is, when this unit boosts, if your soul has 5 or more cards, counterblast 1. Until the end of that battle, when your opponent will call a card from their hand to the Guardian Circle, they have to call 2 or more at the same time. Now, depending on the game state, this could really swing the game into your favor. And of course, there are times where this won't really do anything. You know, it would maybe help if it would always help if your opponents have 5 damage, and this is only a 1-card guard. This forces out an extra card from your opponent's hand, which is really nice. So that's at 2, and I run 3 Steam Artists Pithanas to compensate for my lack of Gungrams. So her ability is very simple. Put her into the soul. You get to give something plus 2k. And that's it. That's it for the grade 1s of the deck. And now moving on to the triggers. So of course we run our 1 Hades Dragon Deity of Resentment, Galmagaheld. I said it, I hope correctly, the first time. But yes, his ability, if you guys didn't already know, is you get the plus 100 million, you get to draw a card, it removes itself from the game, and then during your turn, for the rest of the game, your Vanguard gets plus 10 and 1 crit. So Baro Magnus is swinging for 30k and 3 damage every time. Oh, 33k minimum damage every time he tries to slap your opponent. If you drive check this, especially early. Now, most of the time it does go into the soul, so you have to be very careful. But at the same time, you want to rush to 15 soul. But Baro Magnus does kind of mitigate the oh my god, this goes into the soul factor by giving himself plus 10k and 1 crit every turn anyway. So, you know, not the end of the world if you don't trigger check this. Next, I run 4 crits because I don't want to dismantle my Bruce deck. I have another one back here, but I don't want to open it because if I open it, the only things I'm going to be getting are the triggers. Not really worth it. So I'm waiting for the Festival Collection to come out before I start meddling with the triggers in this specific deck. But I also run 4 fronts. Now, I run 4 fronts over 3 fronts and 4 draws because you get to draw off of Baro Magnus anyway, so it kind of evens out, and of course, Baro Magnus's timing happens before he does any trigger checks, so you're able to use those front triggers to make your Selvish Engravers, if you want to bring those out, really, really big. And of course, our 4 heals. And that is it! That is it for this deck profile. I hope you guys liked it. And if you don't, well, you can eat my apple crumble because, yeah, that's just the way this deck is built. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys liked it, make sure that you leave a comment down in the description. Make sure that you leave a comment down in the comment section. if you guys have any questions. And yeah, don't forget to tell your friends if you think that they'll like all this casual content that we got on the channel. I have a bunch of things coming up soon. I have the festival collection to open up. I'll be opening up a case of a brush with the Legends DBT02 next month. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that, because I don't want to go into the secondary market again. And I'd rather just open up a bunch of boxes and get my SPs. So anyway, that is it. I am Jello, the Casual Card Gamer. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.